Hi everyone, Nathan here from Mighty Lancer Games. Today we're going to talk about these, the AK Real Colour Markers. Now we've had a lot of questions about these. What are they used for? How do you use them? Are they suitable for kids? What can you actually do with these pens? So we're going to dive into a video, we're going to show you a bit about them, and let's see what it's all about. So here we have a small selection of the markers. These are some that I've previously tried out on a live stream. So we've got gunmetal, dark aluminium, chip-in colour, yellow and signal red. Now these RAL colours are, I believe, Luftwaffe colours. So it's a red, it's quite a pale red, and the yellow is quite an egg yolky yellow kind of colour. These real colour markers are more focused on military colours, so there are no gold or brass colours in the range as yet. There are 34 colours, from rubber black through to flat black and flat white, through a range of yellows, reds, greens, browns, etc. What are the pens like? So they have quite a decent tip on. It looks like a almost like a Sharpie, the end. So as you can see, it's quite long, maybe about 8mm, 8 to 10mm in length, with quite a fine tip at the very end, so you can get a good fine line depending on how you draw with it. As you can see there, they are ready to go. As soon as you take the tip off, you can start using them straight away. What it says on the side here, so acrylic paint marker for modelling, fast dry, waterproof. Special formulation for modelling, can be used on plastic, metal, resin and wooden surfaces, resistant to water and heat. Can be applied in layers like any other modelling paint, does not blur, allows for subsequent weathering with any product. Apply on primed surfaces. Little warning there, may produce allergic reaction by skin contact. So no age rating or anything on these. It's, as far as we know, water-based acrylic paint contained within. And as you can see, it's pretty fluid. You can do a lot with it. And if you've got a steady hand, you can get some quite fine lines. So if you get it on your skin, which obviously is not advisable, but it dries pretty quick, as you can see. And I've got a little sponge here and some water, so if I go to clean that off, it does clean off very, very easily. So if you do get it on your skin, wash it off as quickly as possible, but it's very easy to get off. What we're going to do is we're going to try these out on some minis and see how they come out. Now it does say to apply them onto primed surfaces. Can try it directly onto an unprimed mini and see how they work out in that situation. So here is a Song of Ice and Fire Baratheon swordsman. And if I get my chip-in colour marker here, which is a kind of brown, oh no, maybe not the brown, that might not be the best, brown onto brown. Let's try the red. So if we try that red onto his shield, so it's going to take a couple of coats for sure, but you can see it's not evaporating, it's not hydrophobic on there. So we'll colour that in and we'll leave that to dry, and then we'll see how that looks in a moment. But he is just bare plastic out of the box. That's fine. I've also got a Gut Ripper Orc here. He's primed in Mechanicus Standard Grey. And then I've got a Gene Stealer Cult chap here. Has he got a web pistol, I think, and a knife? So we're going to try, and this guy is undercoated with some white over black. So we're going to try, see how that turns out. And then also I have a Rhino, a Predator even, tank, and we're going to try something over the black base coat on that. How do the tips work? They're ready primed, they're ready to go. Oh, drip water all over my painting palette, that's no good. They're ready to go, ready primed with paint as soon as you take the cap off. So you can go straight away. So here we've got some gunmetal, and what we're going to do is we're going to colour in the tip of this Gut Ripper spear, and then we can use the dark aluminium and we'll try it as a little bit of a highlight. Now we'll see how that goes. So as you can see, it's just very easy. If you have got kids and you don't want to give them your pots of paint and your expensive paintbrushes to try painting with, these would be an excellent tool really for your children to try out painting. They're very comfortable to hold. They're quite a chunky marker, and that makes it very easy. So like some of the paintbrushes that we've started to see in the market that have got quite chunky handles, especially for older people who are struggling to grip things, they're very easy to manipulate, and like any pen, you just hold it however you might hold that pen. So some people like a strange grip where they have like the pen in between different fingers. It's just however you find it comfortable. I like a traditional grip, but they are quite comfortable to use. So while I've got this gunmetal in my hand, let's do the dagger blade on the Gene Stealer guy. So one coat is covering quite nicely over both the grey and the white with a metallic. There, let's do the tip of the gun. So even for detailed surfaces like the end of this web pistol, it's quite easy to get into the nooks and crannies because of the point on the pen. And then let's try it over the black as well. So should we go for the exhaust on top of this thing? Won't do massive areas. Decent coverage. You can use the tip or you can use the side of the pen, but the tip itself flows pretty well. I don't know how it regulates how much paint is flowing out of the tip, but it doesn't seem to be throwing out lots of paint, so you're not getting overwhelmed with paint on the surface that you're covering. So if I just paint all of that exhaust housing, and then we can see how that dries. So depending on how neat you are, how much control you've got, depends obviously, like any normal paint job, how fine a finish you can get with these. It's all about dexterity and control with any painting, but certainly very easy to use, and I think that looks okay. So we'll see how that looks once it has dried. I've only used these a couple of times, but I like to put the cap back on as soon as I've done it. I don't know how long it would take for the tip to dry out completely, but if you get the cap back on, as soon as you've finished using that paint marker, you will extend the life of your markers. Fast forward a few minutes, and I have waited for my little dude here to dry. Also coloured in a couple of other bits and pieces. Coloured in rather than painted seems more apt, but this is one coat. As you can see, the signal red is fairly pale. So let's put a second coat over the top of that because it's covered over quite nicely. We'll see what it looks like with a second coat. But covered over well, even on unpainted Mini. So let's put that to one side and we'll see how that turns out. Now, what I have done is I've given the shield on our Cruel Boy a once over, again with the signal red. Now there is an orange in the range, but this is the only red colour. Well, there is a red brown, but it is definitely brown rather than a bright red. So that is a coat of the signal red on the Cruel Boy's shield. We've done the tip of his spear, and then I've also used the chipping colour, which is quite a nice dark brown. Be perfect for as a base for a leather brown on his clothing there on the back. So that looks quite good. That was one coat over with the chipping colour, nice dark brown. Also on the tank. Now this doesn't look overly fantastic. I think it would definitely be better over a better undercoat. So this is two coats of the yellow. As you can see, it's a little bit patchy, but it was directly over the black. And then I attempted some hazard stripes here on the front. Now, hoping that this was going to be some kind of game changer, but it's still very much down to your manual dexterity. And as you can see, I am not the neatest of humans, so you're still probably going to need, unless you've got a very steady hand, you're still going to need some masking tape if you want to do hazard stripes or something on your vehicles. Now, 2 coats of yellow still looks a tad patchy. Let's see what 3 coats looks like. So AK in their literature for these paints advise that you put your base coats on and then use these pens to accentuate the colours more, like highlighting and what have you, that you would base coat your model first. I think that might be, in some situations, the best way to use them. Now this is 1 coat of the gunmetal, so what we'll try there is dark aluminium. We're going to try it on a couple of the different models here, but dark aluminium. Can we get an edge highlight on this exhaust housing if we use the side of the brush? And I think the answer there is yes, we can. So if you're very careful using the side of the brush, you can get a reasonable, depending on how gentle you are, it depends on how thick your edge highlight is, but you can get a decent edge on there. I'm fairly heavy-handed, so mine are pretty chunky, but then there is a bright aluminium as well that you could go over and do a third sort of super fine highlight in there. That doesn't look too bad. It's not about my painting skill, is it? It's about showing off what the product can do, and I think that looks okay. Let's try it on those blades. So if we go on the top edge and around there, for that guy, hopefully there's enough variation in those colours that you can see what that looks like. And let's try it on our dagger. So the dagger over the white has covered very well. So let's give him a sharp edge on there. I am impressed with these. They definitely could speed up batch painting, army painting. I don't know how long one of these will last. Might have to see how much of a model that you can actually colour in with one of these at some point in the future. But so far, the limited use that I have had, 0 problems whatsoever, and super fast drying. So just in the time I've been talking there, this red that I put on the shield has dried. Possibly could do with a third coat. Let's give that a whirl in the centre there. Again, this was unprimed, so if you're going over a white undercoat, you're definitely going to get a better finish. But an unprimed mini drying in seconds has turned out pretty well there. Quite like that. That's very good. So what are these? What are they like? What do I actually think? I think they're really good. They're another tool to add to your painting arsenal. And like I said earlier, if you've got kids and you don't want them using your fantastic paintbrushes, your expensive paintbrushes, or you don't want to risk them tipping over whole pots of paint, these are really good. You could give a handful of these to a child and get them painting some minis that have been pre-primed, ready for them, and let them have some fun, because it's easy to clean off skin, as I showed. It's they're dead easy to use. The tips are good, so you can get into nooks and crannies nice and easy. Same as anything, you just need a little bit of patience when you're using them. So the tips, I haven't mashed the tips into anything, but I haven't had any problems with the bit that I've done here with the tips splitting apart. You don't need to wash the tips on these markers. As you can see, they dry in seconds. How do you hold them? However you like. How would I use them? All sorts of different ways. So maybe not straight over black. I think most of the colours that I've got here, the metallics work fine over black, but the brighter colours definitely need a white or a lighter grey undercoat to make the best of them. Can be used for edge highlighting if you use the side of the tip. What surface will they work on? Just about anything. You can paint them use them onto cardboard. We've got a paint palette here. Let's see how they go, just to simulate if you were going to put them straight over a bit of plastic. So, I mean, that's just a standard paint palette, like a bit of plasticard, and that's although you might need to leave it a little bit longer to dry, but it just went straight over there without splitting or anything, with the hydrophobic nature of some paints. But that seems to have covered pretty well. We'll come back to that in a minute because that won't take long to dry. How many coats do you need? Very dependent on the undercoat and your application. Do they reactivate? So I've not had any issues. When I went over the yellow multiple times, I've not had any issue with it pulling, reactivating the paint and pulling it over. And can you varnish over the top? Absolutely, yes you can. Once it's dry, you can put a varnish or weathering powder or anything else straight over the top of these. Very much dependent, as I say, to what kind of base coat you're using. So if I get my Gene Stealer Magus here, who's been, I think I undercoated these guys black and then zenithal highlighted them with grey sear. So this chap, he's been knocking around for a while on the desk, so he's got a lighter colour. So let's give him a yellow bit of cape here, and let's see how that covers over that lighter colour. So it's, as you might be able to see, you can see brush strokes in there. So it's definitely a case of keeping your motion fluid, trying to get longer strokes in as you're doing different colours, because otherwise you're going to see those brush strokes in the finished product. But let's give that a few seconds to dry and see how that looks. But I'm very impressed with how these work so far. And for all I've only got these 5 colours, I think I'm definitely going to pick up some more. I might get some blues and some greens and even use them on my Mordheim orcs that I'm currently painting, because I think that might speed things up slightly in terms of getting those painted. I've got a few weeks to do those. But that yellow over that grey sear zenithal highlight, actually that yellow is really popping compared to the one coat over the black. So these 2 stripes at this side are 1 coat over black, which are definitely going to need some more. Even the 3 coats needs a better undercoat. You can't just go straight over black with the light colours. I think we've established that. So 1 coat of the red over a Mechanicus grey doesn't look too bad, but will probably be better served with a couple of coats. Silver, the gunmetal, covers just over anything as far as I can tell. 3 coats of that red on the Unprime Mini looks great. Very happy with that. And almost dry. So I think any application of yellow is going to take more than 1 coat. As you can see, that's drying there. It's dulling down a little as it dries. You're definitely going to need more than 1 coat with the yellow to get a really nice finish. But overall, I'm very impressed with these. They're really, really good. A great tool to add to any painter's toolkit. And of course, you can find them at mightylancergames.co.uk or in store in Bridlington. And they are very reasonably priced. So they're currently priced at £1.99 per pen, which is an absolute bargain. They're also available in some sets. So there is a set where you can get 1 of everything. There are sets that are designed for specific things like Luftwaffe camouflage and what have you. You can use them for all sorts of purposes, not just miniature painting. So check them out over on the website, mightylancergames.co.uk, or come into store in Bridlington and grab some and try them out for yourself. Thanks for watching.